history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My
Welcome to the special Memorial Day episode of Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Leake. Today, we pause not only to remember the brave men and women who gave their lives in service to our country, but also to reflect on the unique tapestry of history, family, and culture that connects us all. Memorial Day holds a solemn place in our hearts, a time to honor sacrifice, resilience, and the enduring spirit of those who answered the call of duty. This episode weaves together several threads: the bittersweet legacy of Memorial Day, the thrilling evolution of NASCAR is more than just a sport, but a symbol of American grit, and a deeply personal story rooted in the pit lanes of racing history. My father's work as a NASCAR pit crew member for Buddy Arrington, number 67, during the 70s and 80s. It speaks to an era where passion and perseverance often outshone big budgets and fame. As we journey through these stories, you'll hear how the roar of engines and the traditions of the racetrack echo broader themes of commitment and sacrifice. From the earliest days of NASCAR's rise after World War II, to the memories of my cousin Neil Walker, who made the ultimate sacrifice at Monte Cassino during World War II. This episode honors the resilience behind both racing and service. These narratives align to create a heartfelt tribute that bridges the personal and the historical. Prepare for a reflective and informative episode where history comes alive through memory, emotion, and reverence. Thank you for joining me in this moment of remembrance and storytelling. The history and significance of Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a solemn observance woven into the fabric of American history, a day set aside each year to honor the U.S. military personnel who have died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. Unlike Veterans Day, which honors all who have served, Memorial Day is specifically dedicated to remembering those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Its origins are rooted in the profound sorrow and the immense loss experienced by the nation in the wake of the Civil War. Origins, Decoration Day after the Civil War. The Civil War, from 1861 to 1865, claimed more lives than any other conflict in U.S. history, leaving behind countless widows, orphans, and a nation deeply scarred. The sheer scale of death necessitated new ways of remembrance. Communities across the North and South began holding informal tributes to their fallen soldiers, decorating the graves with flowers and flags. These acts of remembrance occurred spontaneously in various locations. Many towns claim to be the birthplace of Memorial Day. One of the earliest documented instances of a community-wide commemoration occurred on May 1st, 1865, when formerly enslaved people in Charleston, South Carolina, held a parade of 10,000 people to honor Union soldiers buried in a mass grave at the Washington Race Course, which had been used as a Confederate prison camp. They reinterred the soldiers, built a fence around the cemetery, and decorated the graves. This memorial park is one of the locations in my novel Gethsemane and holds personal significance to me and my friends. It was one of our favorite places to go and hang out near the Citadel in Charleston, near our apartment. Other early observances are noted in Bowlesburg, Pennsylvania, 1864, in Columbus, Mississippi, 1866, where women decorated the graves of both Confederate and Union soldiers. The name Decoration Day emerged naturally from this practice of adorning graves. These early local commemorations laid the groundwork for a national day of remembrance. General Logan's proclamation and national observance. The call for a national day of commemoration came from General John A. Logan, who served as the Commander-in-Chief of the Grand Army of the Republic, GAR, an organization for Union Civil War veterans. On May 5, 1868, Logan issued General Order No. 11, which designated May 30th as a day for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land, unquote. Logan chose May 30th because it was not the anniversary of any particular battle, allowing it to be a day of collective remembrance for all fallen Union soldiers. The first large-scale observation under Logan's order took place later that month on May 30th, 1868, at Arlington National Cemetery. General Ulysses S. Grant, then U.S. Senator, presided over the ceremonies, and thousands of people decorated the graves of more than 20,000 soldiers buried there. According to the National Cemetery Administration, the practice spread quickly across the northern states. Southern states, for a time, continued to honor their dead on separate days, reflecting the lingering divisions of the war. Evolution to honor all fallen heroes. Initially, Decoration Day was primarily focused on honoring the Union soldiers who perished in the Civil War. However, as the nation healed and generations passed, the scope of the holiday began to broaden. After the United States entered World War I in 1917, when the nation again faced significant military casualties, the holiday evolved. It became a day to honor all Americans who had died fighting in any war or military action, not just the Civil War. This expansion reflected the growing understanding that the sacrifice of military service transcended specific conflicts. By the late 19th century, many states had declared Decoration Day an official state holiday. Following World War II, the holiday became even more widely recognized as a day to remember all U.S. military personnel who died in service. The term Memorial Day began to be used more frequently than Decoration Day, although the latter persisted for some time. The move to the last Monday in May. For decades, Memorial Day was observed on May 30th, regardless of the day of the week. This changed with the passage of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act by Congress in 1968. This act aimed to create more three-day weekends for federal employees by moving several holidays to a Monday. Memorial Day was one of the holidays affected. Beginning in 1971, Memorial Day was officially designated as the last Monday in May as a federal holiday, according to History.com. Although this link primarily discusses NASCAR's founding, the Uniform Monday Holiday Act information is widely corroborated. This change was met with some controversy, as many felt that fixing the date to a Monday diminished the holiday's solemnity in connection to its historical origin. Some argued that it encouraged a focus on the long weekend and leisure activities rather than the intended purpose of remembrance. Despite the date change, the name Memorial Day was solidified as the official title of the holiday. The transition to a Monday observance has remained the standard, though efforts have been made over the years to return to the observance to its traditional day of May 30th to restore its non-commercial significance. Memorial Day today, a day of remembrance. Today, Memorial Day remains a profoundly important day for remembrance across the United States. It is a day when Americans are encouraged to pause, reflect, and honor the men and women who have died while serving their country. While it is often seen as the unofficial start of summer, with picnics, parades, and travel, the core meaning of the day is one of solemn commemoration. Many communities continue the tradition of decorating the graves of fallen soldiers with flowers and flags. National cemeteries, such as Arlington, hold special ceremonies, including the placing of flags on each grave. Parades and memorial services are held in towns and cities nationwide. A national moment of remembrance is observed at 3 p.m. local time, urging Americans to pause for 1 minute in an act of national unity and reflection. The holiday serves as a vital reminder of the cost of freedom and the sacrifices made to protect the nation. It connects current generations to the historical legacy of military service and loss, ensuring that the contributions and ultimate sacrifices of service members are not forgotten. It is a day to reflect on the bravery, dedication, and patriotism of those who gave their lives, acknowledging the debt owed to them and their families. NASCAR's origins and evolution. While today NASCAR is a multi-billion-dollar professional sport with high-tech race cars, massive speedways, and lucrative corporate sponsorship, its roots are far more humble, gritty, and deeply ingrained in the post-World War II American South. The story of NASCAR is one of transformation, born from outlaw beginnings and evolving into a mainstream cultural phenomenon. In the years immediately following World War II, racing was a popular, though often disorganized pastime across southern states. Automobile technology had advanced rapidly during the war, and many returning soldiers were mechanically inclined and eager to test their skills in vehicles. My dad talks about these former combat veterans who were used to the thrill of action and came home and wanted to experience it again through racing. They used standard production cars or stock cars, often modified slightly, to race on dirt tracks, fairgrounds, and even stretches of beach, most notably in Daytona Beach, Florida. This era was characterized by adrenaline, danger, and a distinct lack of formal rules or centralized organization. The founding of NASCAR. The need for structure, standardized rules, and a consistent point system became increasingly apparent to bring legitimacy and safety to the burgeoning sport. Among the most prominent figures advocating for this change was William Bill France Sr., a mechanic and racer from Washington, D.C., who had moved to Daytona Beach. France recognized the potential for stock car racing, but also its chaotic nature. He envisioned a governing body that could sanction races, establish rules, crown champions, thereby attracting larger crowds, more professional competitors, and eventually financial stability. In December 1947, France organized a series of meetings at the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach, bringing together drivers, car owners, mechanics, and promoters. These meetings laid the groundwork for a unified racing body. The result was the formation of the National Association for Stock Car Racing, NASCAR. The official founding date is widely recognized as February 21st, 1948. Bill France Sr. became the first president, a position he would hold for nearly 25 years. NASCAR initially sanctioned three divisions: modified, roadster, and strictly stock. The modified division, which allowed for significant alterations to cars, was the most popular in the early days. However, Bill France Sr. believed the future lay in the strictly stock division, featuring cars that were, as the name suggests, close to what you could buy at a dealership lot. This division was intended to resonate more directly with car manufacturers and the general public, emphasizing brand loyalty and relatable competition. Early milestones of the rise of speedways. The inaugural NASCAR-sanctioned modified race was held on February 15, 1948, on the Daytona Beach and Road Course. Red Byron won the first event. While significant, the real turning point for France's vision of stock car racing came the following year. The first ever NASCAR strictly stock race took place on June 19, 1949, at Charlotte Speedway, a 3/4-mile dirt track. Jim Roper was declared the winner after Glenn Dunaway's car was disqualified following a post-race inspection found illegal spring shackles. This race marked the true beginning of what would evolve into the premier series as we know today. Lee Petty, father of Richard Petty, also competed in this historic race, crashing out and finishing 17th. The 1949 season, though short, established the foundation for the sport's structure and competitive format. Recognizing the limitations and safety challenges of existing dirt tracks and beach circuits for faster, heavier stock cars, Bill France Sr. began dreaming of purpose-built superspeedways. His most ambitious project was the Daytona International Speedway. Construction began in 1957. The track opened in 1959, the first Daytona 500 race. This iconic event, held on the 2.5-mile high-bank tri-oval, immediately became the sport's marquee event and a cornerstone of the NASCAR calendar. The high speeds and dramatic finishes of Daytona captivated audiences and showcased the potential of superspeedway racing. Another pivotal track construction was Darlington Raceway in South Carolina, which opened in 1950. Built by Harold Brasington, it was the first paved track specifically designed for stock cars. It was larger than any previous oval used by NASCAR, featuring a unique egg shape due to space constraints on one end. The first Southern 500 held there was a grueling test of endurance for both cars and drivers, quickly establishing Darlington as a legendary and challenging venue, dubbed the Lady in Black, and the track too tough to tame. These early tracks, along with others like Charlotte Motor Speedway, opening in 1960, defined the architecture of modern stock car racing and allowed for significantly increased speeds and larger crowds. Professionalization, expansion, and the rise of Bill France Jr. As NASCAR entered the 1960s and 1970s, it transitioned from a regional curiosity to a national sport. This growth was directly and greatly accelerated under the leadership of Bill France Jr., who took over the presidency from his father in 1972. Bill Jr. had a keen business mind and understood the importance of marketing, professionalism, and television. Under Bill France Jr.'s guidance, NASCAR consolidated its premier series, which eventually became known as the Winston Cup Series in 1971, after a landmark sponsorship deal with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. This was one of the earliest and most significant title sponsorships in major American sports, providing financial stability and elevating the sport's profile. France Jr. also successfully navigated the complex world of television broadcasting. The 1979 Daytona 500, broadcast live flag to flag on CBS, was a watershed moment. A snowstorm across much of the eastern United States kept viewers indoors, and the dramatic finish, including a last lap crash, a post-race pit lane brawl between drivers Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, joined by Bobby Allison, captured national attention and significantly boosted NASCAR's popularity outside its traditional southern base. It was something my dad talks about to this day. 1980s and 90s saw further expansion. NASCAR added races at tracks outside the South, bringing the sport to larger markets. Corporate sponsorships became increasingly vital, funding teams and race events. The sports heroes like Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt Sr., and Jeff Gordon became household names. Bill France Jr. was instrumental in developing a business model that turned NASCAR to a major entertainment property, leveraging broadcasting rights and corporate partnerships to fuel growth and significantly increase prize money, making racing a truly professional career path for drivers and teams. Evolution of safety measures. From its earliest days, stock car racing was inherently dangerous. Early cars had minimal safety features, and tracks were often unforgiving. Safety advancements in NASCAR have historically been driven by tragedy and the tireless efforts of individuals and the sanctioning body to learn from incidents. Early safety efforts focused on improving driver restraints, fuel cells to prevent fires, and safer barriers. The death of drivers like Joe Weatherly in 1964, Fireball Roberts in 1964, somebody that my dad talks about a good bit, led to increased focus on roll cages and fire suppression. As speeds increased with the development of superspeedways and more powerful engines, the need for more robust safety measures became critical. However, perhaps no single event prompted as significant a revolution in NASCAR safety as the death of seven-time champion Dale Earnhardt Sr. on the final lap of his 2001 Daytona 500. Earnhardt's death following a crash where his car hit the wall in a way that caused a severe head injury, sent shockwaves through the sport and the nation. It highlighted the specific dangers posed by severe impacts and outdated safety equipment, particularly concerning basilar skull fractures. In the wake of Earnhardt's death and a series of other serious injuries, NASCAR undertook a comprehensive review of the safety protocols. This period saw the mandatory adoption of the head and neck support device, which significantly reduces the risk of basilar skull fractures and high-impact crashes. NASCAR also accelerated the implementation of softer wall technology, like the SAFER, steel and foam energy reduction barrier, which absorbs impact energy more effectively than traditional concrete walls, reducing the force transmitted to the driver. Furthermore, the design of the race cars themselves underwent radical changes with the introduction of the Car of Tomorrow, COT, and later, the next-gen car. These vehicles incorporated a stronger chassis and energy-absorbing structures designed to protect the driver more effectively during crashes from various angles. Cockpit safety was enhanced with improved seating, restraints, and interior padding. Data recorders became standard, allowing NASCAR engineers to study crashes and continually improve safety systems. The evolution of NASCAR safety is an ongoing process. It's a testament to the sport's commitment, albeit often promoted by unfortunate circumstances, to protect its competitors as much as possible while maintaining the thrilling essence of stock car racing. From the beach sands of Daytona to high-banked superspeedways and intermediate ovals, NASCAR has transformed dramatically, propelled by visionaries, fueled by competition, shaped by a constant push for speed, tempered by the essential need for safety. This journey from grassroots racing to a professional sport It's a reflection of American innovation, engineering, and the enduring appeal of cars and competition. Personal legacy. My dad and Buddy Arrington's NASCAR pit crew. We've explored the solemn history of Memorial Day and the fascinating evolution of NASCAR from its rough and tumble beginnings. Now I want to bring these threads closer to home, to a story that is deeply personal and intrinsically linked to the heart and soul of stock car racing during a transformative era. This is the story of my father in his time as a unpaid pit crew member for independent NASCAR driver Buddy Arrington in the 70s and 80s. My dad talks about weekends on the road, heading to Darlington, Charlotte, Martinsville, one of the many other tracks scattered across the Southeast. He wasn't a superstar driver, not even a famous crew chief. He was one of the unsung heroes of the garage area, the kind of person without whom the sport, especially for the independent teams, simply wouldn't have existed. His commitment was fueled purely by passion, loyalty, and an unwavering dedication for a driver and a team running on heart and grit rather than multi-million-dollar budgets. The underdog spirit, Buddy Arrington's independent endeavor. Buddy Arrington was and still is a legend among those who appreciate the independent spirit of NASCAR. Hailing from Martinsville, Virginia, Buddy was the epitome of the driver-owner who did it all himself. In an era where teams backed by major manufacturers like Ford, Chevrolet, and later, well-funded operations were starting to dominate, Buddy Arrington carved out a remarkable career purely through perseverance and ingenuity. Buddy was fiercely loyal to Mopar, campaigning Dodge and Plymouth cars long after official factory support had waned. This was a point of pride for him and his crew. Running Mopars meant they were often working with less readily available parts and facing competitors with greater resources and engineering support from Detroit. But Buddy made it work. He was known for his mechanical skill, often building his own engines, and for simply showing up race after race, year after year. His dedication resulted in an incredible record. He made 560 starts in the NASCAR Cup Series between 1963 and 1988, a testament to his sheer staying power and love of the sport. The Arrington team operated on a shoestring budget. There were no fancy haulers, no sprawling shops with dozens of full-time employees. Their operation was lean, fueled by sponsor money that was modest by comparison, prize money earned through consistent finishes, and the sweat equity of a small dedicated crew. My father was part of that crew. These were mostly local guys, friends, acquaintances from around Martinsville and the neighboring parts of Virginia and North Carolina. Many full-time jobs outside of racing who volunteered their time because they believed in Buddy and loved being part of NASCAR. Buddy Arrington embodied the underdog spirit that was so prevalent and so cherished in NASCAR's early days. He might not have won many races against the Goliaths of the sport, drivers like Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough, or Darrell Waltrip, who had significant manufacturer backing. He consistently brought his car home, often finishing in the top 15 or 10, which was a huge accomplishment for an independent. Each decent finish made crucial points, perhaps more importantly, precious prize money that kept the team going to the next track. His ability to compete, often against overwhelming odds, resonated deeply with fans and crew members alike. Life on the pit crew, more than just changing tires. Being a part of Buddy Arrington's pit crew in the 70s and 80s was a far cry from the highly specialized choreographed pit stops you see today. There were no air-conditioned team buses, no catered spread. It was hot, it was noisy, it was demanding. The work involved long hours, not just on race day, but often starting on Thursday or Friday as the team traveled to the track, unloaded, went through inspection, practice, and qualify. The pit crew were the mechanics, the fabricators, the bodymen, the tire changers, the fuelers, often wearing multiple hats. My dad wasn't just a tire changer. He was involved in working on the car in the garage throughout the weekend. Pit stops themselves were intense bursts of controlled chaos. While not as lightning fast as modern stops, they were still crucial. A few extra seconds on pit road cost precious track position. There was a raw physical element to it, wrestling heavy wheels and tires, managing bulky fuel cans before the era of fuel dumps, and making quick adjustments with basic hand tools. Safety was present, but certainly not at the level of today. You were acutely aware of the massive power of the car coming towards you, the smell of rubber and fuel, the deafening roar of engines. It required focus, trust in your teammates, and the ability to perform under immense pressure in front of thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of fans. Anecdotes and memories from the track. The racing world wasn't just a place my dad went. And weren't just stories about racing. They were lessons in life. They were about overcoming challenges, the importance of teamwork, the satisfaction of hard physical work culminating in a tangible result, whether that was a quick pit stop, simply getting the car to the finish line. We've traced the formal history of NASCAR from its post-World War genesis on southern dirt tracks and beaches into the founding vision of Bill France Sr., the rise of iconic speedways like Daytona, and the crucial advancements in professionalization and safety. We've also delved into a personal history, my father's dedicated service on Buddy Arrington's independent pit crew, which offers a ground-level view of the sport's heat during a pivotal era. Now let's talk about how all of this coalesces into something more profound, the enduring culture and legacy of NASCAR, a sport that has woven itself deeply into the fabric of American life for millions. A sport rooted in community and passion. From its earliest days, NASCAR wasn't just about cars going fast. It was about community. Both born primarily in the American South, it grew out of local traditions and rivalries. These weren't polished, distant athletes in climate-controlled stadiums. They were often your neighbors, the mechanic down the street, or the local moonshiner looking for a thrill. The tracks were often makeshift, and the interaction between drivers, crews, and fans was immediate and personal. This grassroots connection fostered a passionate fan base unlike any other. The fans are the lifeblood of NASCAR's culture. They camped in the infields for days, creating temporary towns built on shared loyalty to drivers, car manufacturers, often a point of fierce yet friendly debate, and the sheer spectacle of speed. The tailgating, the cookouts, and shared anticipation before the green flag drops. It's a communal experience passed down through generations. While NASCAR has expanded nationwide and even internationally, its strong regional roots, particularly in the Southeast, remain evident in the fervor of the fan base and the location of many iconic tracks. This isn't just spectating. It's about participating in a vibrant multi-day event that celebrates speed, skill, and a particular brand of American ingenuity. Beyond the track, cultural influence and identity. NASCAR's influence extends far beyond the confines of the racetrack and has become a significant element of American popular culture, particularly embodying themes of independence, hard work, and the pursuit of speed. The stock car itself is a symbol deeply tied to the American automotive industry, history, and innovation. Initially, these cars you could buy and drive on the street, creating a relatable connection for fans. While modern NASCAR Cup Series cars are highly specialized, their lineage traces back to the Ford versus Chevy versus Dodge battles that played out both on the highway and on the track. This connection to the automobile, a central figure in the American landscape and identity, gives NASCAR a unique cultural foothold. The sport has influenced everything from fashion and advertising to music and films. Driver personalities become larger-than-life figures, embodying traits like grit, resilience, and showmanship. Think of larger-than-life personas like Richard Petty's Regal King status, Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s intimidating intimidator mystique, or Jeff Gordon's clean-cut challenge to the old guard. These individuals become cultural icons, their stories resonating with fans and non-fans alike. Furthermore, racing has always been a crucible for technological advancement. While NASCAR's stock car ethos historically kept the cars relatively grounded in production technology compared to open-wheel racing like Formula One, Advancements in engine design, aerodynamics, tire technology, and safety systems developed for racing often find their way into road cars. The constant pursuit of marginal gains on the track drives innovation that has broader implications. Generational ties and the human element. Perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of NASCAR's legacy is the way it fosters generational traditions. It's common to find families where supporting a particular driver or attending certain races is a ritual passed down from grandparents to parents to children. Going to the track becomes a family outing, a shared experience that builds lasting memories. My father's experience with Buddy Arrington perfectly embodies the human element at the heart of the sports culture. Especially in earlier eras, it wasn't about corporate sponsorship or primetime television slots, though those came later. It was about a group of people, bound by loyalty and shared passion, dedicating their time and effort to chase a dream on the weekends. These were everyday individuals, mechanics, welders, tire specialists, friends, family, who came together often unpaid because they believed in the driver and loved the competition. Like any long-standing tradition, NASCAR faces the challenge of honoring its past while adapting to the future. The sport has changed dramatically since the days of beach racing, or the independent heyday of drivers like Buddy Arrington. Cars are standardized, technology is paramount, and the business side is on a scale unimaginable in 1948. Honoring the past involves preserving the stories, recognizing the contributions of pioneers, both drivers and crew, maintaining a connection to the tracks and regions that were foundational to the sport's growth. It means acknowledging the evolution from raw, sometimes reckless competition to a highly sophisticated, incredibly safe compared to its origins technical endeavor. The legends of the past are celebrated, their rivalries and triumphs serving as touchstones for current competitors and fans. Simultaneously, NASCAR must look ahead. This involves embracing new technologies, exploring different powertrain options, reaching new demographics, expanding into markets beyond its traditional base. It means evolving the race format, engaging fans through digital platforms, and addressing issues of diversity and inclusion to ensure the sport remains relevant and accessible to a changing America. The introduction of the next-gen car and its focus on cost control and performance parity, and the exploration of new venues are examples of the sport's ongoing effort to balance tradition with innovation. The legacy of NASCAR, therefore, is a dynamic entity. It's carried forward in the roar of the engine, even as technology changes, the unwavering loyalty of families who've been fans for generations, and in the stories of those who built the sport from the ground up, like my father and the many others on the independent pit crews. It's a celebration of American engineering, competitive spirit, and the enduring appeal of speed and skill, continually adapting while holding on to the core values of community, hard work, and the thrill of the race that defined it from the start. As we take a moment to honor the sacrifices remembered this Memorial Day, it's fitting to recognize those who continue to serve our country's values in everyday life. Black Rifle Coffee Company, founded in 2014 by former U.S. Army Green Beret Evan Hafer, stands as a proud veteran-owned business dedicated not only to crafting exceptional coffee, but also to supporting our military community and first responders. BRCC isn't just about quality coffee, though their rich, bold blends speak volumes. It's a company built on principles of service, patriotism, conservative values. Their commitment extends beyond the brew, employing veterans and donating to veteran causes, ensuring those who have worn the uniform receive support long after their service ends. For those of us reflecting on Memorial Day, choosing Black Rifle Coffee means more than saving a great cup. It's an opportunity to back a business that honors the sacrifice of our fallen and the dedication of our heroes still serving. Every purchase helps create jobs for veterans and amplifies their voices in a marketplace often overlooked. Whether you're fueling a race day pit stop or a quiet moment of remembrance, Black Rifle Coffee Company provides a bold, authentic coffee experience grounded in respect and pride. Support those who serve and sip with honor. Learn more and find your next roast at blackriflecoffee.com. As we reflect on the sacrifices commemorated this Memorial Day, it feels especially meaningful to highlight products that support those who serve, directly linking everyday items to a legacy of service and resilience. The Skillcraft pen is one such emblem. More than just a writing tool, it represents an enduring commitment to employ and empower Americans with disabilities, including many veterans. The story of Skillcraft pens begins with the 1938 Wagner-O'Day Act, legislation that mandated the federal government to purchase supplies and products made by blind Americans. This law aimed to create meaningful employment opportunities for a community often marginalized in the workforce. In 1968, National Industries for the Blind, NIB, began producing the Skillcraft pen, which quickly became a trusted standard within U.S. government offices and military services nationwide. Renowned for their rugged durability, smooth ink flow, and reliability even in harsh conditions, Skillcraft pens have been a staple at federal desks, military barracks, and wherever precision writing is required. But more than these qualities, purchasing and using Skillcraft products is an act of honoring the skilled hands behind them, many of which belong to disabled veterans and civilians who bravely overcome personal adversity. This connection aligns deeply with the Memorial Day spirit. Just as we remember the sacrifices made by our fallen heroes, embracing Skillcraft pens supports our ongoing efforts to uplift those who have served or lived with disabilities. By choosing Skillcraft, we sustain a tradition of respect, inclusivity, and American craftsmanship, values that resonate strongly during this time of reflection. Amidst reflection and remembrance, Moleskine Notebooks stands as a timeless companion for creativity, thought, and legacy. Though the brand as we know it was established only in 1997, it draws inspiration from the legendary notebook cherished by artists and thinkers throughout history. Icons like Vincent van Gogh, Pablo Picasso, Ernest Hemingway, all famously carried simple black notebooks that captured moments, ideas, and memories. Moleskine's modern incarnation was envisioned as an elegant bridge between past and present, honoring the tradition of handwritten storytelling and personal reflection. Each notebook is crafted with care, featuring durable covers, acid-free paper, and thoughtful details like expandable inner pockets and elastic closures. These elements encourage users not just to write, but to pause, to remember, to preserve what matters most. In the context of Memorial Day, journaling with a Moleskine can become an act of tribute, capturing stories of sacrifice, passion, and family legacy. It invites us to document our own musings and memories, ensuring that the voices of those who came before us endure beyond fleeting moments. As we honor those who serve and the personal histories intertwined with broader American heritage, Moleskine offers a way to keep those narratives alive. Whether you're a writer, artist, or someone seeking a meaningful space for reflection this Memorial Day, a Moleskine notebook is more than just paper and cover. It's a vessel of remembrance and creativity. Discover more about the legacy of craftsmanship behind these notebooks at Moleskine AU and the rich history behind back then history. Remembering Neil Walker, a hero's story at Monte Cassino. We spent time reflecting on the solemn history of Memorial Day, tracing the energetic revolution of NASCAR, a sport deeply connected to American grit and innovation. We've also touched upon the personal dedication embodied by my father's time and Buddy Arrington's pit crew. Now I want to turn to a story that brings the true, profound weight of Memorial Day into sharp, painful focus for my family. The story of my cousin, Neil Walker. Neil's sacrifice during World War II is a stark reminder of the human cost of the freedoms we often take for granted. Freedoms enjoyed by stock car drivers hurtling down a track or families gathering for a holiday picnic. This story is one chapter in the larger tragic history of a brutal conflict, specifically the grinding, unforgiving struggle for Italy in the infamous Battle of Monte Cassino. The Battle for Monte Cassino, a grinding struggle in Italy. The Italian campaign of World War II, which began with the Allied landings in Sicily in the summer of 1943 and continued through the German surrender in Italy in May 1945, is often referred to as a forgotten front. Compared to the D-Day landings and the subsequent push through Western Europe, the fight in Italy was characterized by incredibly difficult terrain, tenacious German defense, and slow, costly advances. Italy's mountainous spine and numerous rivers provided ideal defensive positions, making every mile gained a bloody struggle. One of the most significant and fiercely contested obstacles the Allies faced was the Gustav Line, a formidable German defense position running across Italy. The linchpin of the western part of this line was the town and ancient abbey of Monte Cassino. Perched high on a mountain overlooking the Liri Valley, a crucial route to Rome, the Benedictine Abbey of Monte Cassino offered the Germans an unparalleled observation post, allowing them to direct artillery fire with deadly accuracy onto any Allied movement below, even without occupying the abbey itself, which the German forces initially vowed not to do, at least not directly. The commanding height made the surrounding terrain incredibly difficult for the Allies to navigate and attack. The Battle of Monte Cassino was not a single engagement, but a series of 4 major Allied offensives launched between January and May 1944. These battles involved troops from numerous Allied nations, including American, British, French, Polish, New Zealand, Indian, and Canadian forces, fighting against elite German paratroopers and mountain troops. The fighting took place in horrific conditions. The terrain was steep, rocky, and exposed. Winter weather brought cold, rain, and snow, turning roads and trails into mud. German defenses were elaborate and well prepared, featuring extensive minefields, barbed wire, concrete bunkers, and interconnected trench systems. The battle became infamous, the controversial decision to bomb the historic abbey on February 15, 1944, based on the belief, strongly denied by the Germans then and debated by historians since, certainly appearing militarily logical at the time given its tactical advantage, that it was being used for military purposes of observation. The bombing destroyed the ancient structure, but did little to break the German defense. In fact, it provided German troops with a ready-made rubble fortification, making subsequent ground assaults even more difficult. Subsequent ground assaults, involving brutal, close-quarters combat, failed to dislodge the Germans from the surrounding heights and the town below. The third battle in March 1944, codenamed Operation Dickens, saw Allied forces, primarily Indian and New Zealand troops, attempt to capture the town and abbey ruins after a massive aerial and artillery bombardment turned the landscape into a moonscape. Despite the overwhelming firepower, German defenders, sheltered in caves, cellars, and the abbey rubble, held on fiercely, inflicting heavy casualties. The final successful offensive, Operation Diadem, launched in May 1944, involved a concentrated effort by a multinational force, including a Polish corps tasked with assaulting the heavily defended Monte Cassino Mastiff itself. After weeks of continuous brutal fighting and immense losses on both sides, Polish forces finally raised their flag over the shattered ruins of the abbey on May 18, 1944. The capture of Monte Cassino finally broke the Gustav Line and opened the road to Rome, which fell to the Allies on June 4, 1944. The cost, however, was staggering, with tens of thousands of Allied and German casualties. It was a battle that tested the limits of human endurance in one of the war's most grim and challenging theaters. It was into this maelstrom of the Italian campaign, supporting the brutal ground war below, that my cousin Neil Walker flew his missions. Neil served as part of the U.S. Army Air Forces, assigned to the 301 1st Bombardment Group, specifically the 32nd Bombardment Squadron. The 301 BG was part of the 15th Air Force, which operated out of the bases of North Africa and later southern Italy, conducting strategic bombing missions against targets across occupied Europe. including industrial sites, infrastructure, and enemy troop concentrations, as well as providing tactical support to ground forces in Italy. Operating B-17 flying fortresses, these crews faced intense anti-aircraft fire and attacks from German fighter aircraft on nearly every mission. While the specifics of the mission of that fateful day are etched less clearly in the public record than the ground battle, family history preserves the tragic outcome. Assigned to a bombing mission supporting the efforts around Monte Cassino, likely targeting supply lines, transportation hubs, or troop positions critical to the German defense, Neil's aircraft was hit, shot down by enemy action, whether from ground-based anti-aircraft guns or German fighter planes defending the crucial front lines. His B-17 crashed. Neil Walker was killed in action during the Battle of Monte Cassino. He was just a young man, flying thousands of feet above the hellish landscape of the Liri Valley, contributing to the immense collective effort to break through the German lines and liberate Italy. His service and ultimate sacrifice are recorded within the annals of his unit, 301BG.com. Being shot down over enemy territory, particularly in an area that's heavily defended and bitterly contested as Monte Cassino. His certain death, or capture for the crew. For Neil, it was the ultimate price. His life, full of potential, was extinguished far from home, in the skies above a distant, war-torn country. He was one of the thousands upon thousands of young men who did not return from the Italian campaign. The campaign where courage was routine. Survival was a matter of luck amidst the overwhelming violence. Personal reflection and Memorial Day meaning. Neil Walker's story is not just a historical footnote. It is a living, breathing part of my family's history, my own understanding of sacrifice. Though I never met him, his death came decades before I was born. His absence is a palpable presence in my family's stories, in quiet moments of remembrance. He is the reason why Memorial Day is not an abstract holiday for me. It's intrinsically linked to a face from an old photograph, a name spoken with reverence, and a fate that forever altered the trajectory of his branch of the family. Learning about the conditions at Monte Cassino, the mud, the cold, the constant danger from shelling, the snipers on the ground, the flak and fighters in the air, deepens the sense of awe at the courage required. Neil wasn't just flying a plane. He was entering a zone of unimaginable peril, day after day, because his country asked him to. He was a part of a crew, squadron, and Air Force, all working in concert with ground forces they might never meet, all focused on a singular dangerous goal. This willingness to face that danger, knowing the risks involved, is the very definition of bravery and duty. For my family, Neil's sacrifice is a poignant reminder of the profound impact war has, not just on those who fight, but on the generations that follow. His parents lost a son, his siblings lost a brother, and cousins like me grew up knowing about the young man who was taken too soon. Stories of thread connecting our relatively comfortable present to a past where freedom was actively, violently defended at immense personal cost. Its grounds are Memorial Day observances, shifting the focus from barbecues and sales to the solemn purpose of remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Memorial Day for me is a day to speak Neil's name aloud, to remember the details of his service, his unit, and the terrible place where he died. It's a day to look at the photograph and ponder the life he didn't get to live, the career he didn't have, the family he didn't start, the simple joys of everyday life he missed. His story, the stories of millions like him, underscore the immense debt we owe to those who died in service. They gave up everything, their present and their future, so that we could have ours. Remembering Neil and the Battle of Monte Cassino reinforces the significance of Memorial Day beyond a mere holiday. It's a sacred trust. We are called upon not just to mourn, to understand the context of their sacrifice, specific battles, the brutal conditions, the strategic objectives, and the deeply human cost. By learning these stories, we ensure that their sacrifice is not abstract, but remains rooted in the reality of war and the specific lives that were lost. Neil Walker's story tied as it is to one of the most hellish battles of World War II, serves as a powerful personal testament to the courage of a generation, the enduring meaning of Memorial Day. It reminds us that freedom is not free, but bought with the lives of heroes like my cousin Neil. Poetic musings, honoring those who died in service. And so as we stand here, metaphorically, on the hallowed ground of memory this Memorial Day, having journeyed through history of a sport built on speed and daring, touched upon a personal family legacy forged in the heat and grit of pit lane, and anchored ourselves in the profound origins and enduring meaning of this solemn day, we arrive at the heart of it all. The reason for the quiet flags, the lowered heads, the moment of silence at 3 p.m. local time. We arrive at remembrance of lives given, futures relinquished, and silent pacts sealed in sacrifice. Memorial Day calls us to lift up our gaze beyond the immediate, beyond the barbecues and wassails, and to see, etched against the vast canvas of American history, countless names, faces, of those who answered a call that led them to the edge of that horizon, and sometimes tragically beyond. They are the soldiers, sailors, airmen, marines, and coast guardsmen who stood watch, who marched forward and flew into the unknown, who sailed into perilous waters and did not return. Their stories are myriad, their final moments scattered across continents and oceans, marked by the chilling sounds of conflict and the sudden silence of cessation. We remember the doughboys in the muddy trenches of the Great War, facing horrors that defied description. We remember the sons and daughters who stormed the beaches of Normandy and the islands of the Pacific, the courage of fragile shield against overwhelming odds. We remember those who shivered in the frozen Korean winters, who slogged through the jungles of Vietnam, and who faced down complex threats of the modern age in deserts and mountains far from home. Each one a unique individual, with hopes, dreams, families, and a life waiting to be lived, each one a light extinguished in the service of a greater purpose. Their sacrifice is a heavy cloak draped across the nation's history, reminding us that the freedoms we cherish, the ability to pursue our passions, whether on a racetrack or in quiet reflection, were bought at an incalculable cost. It is a cost measured not in dollars, but in heartbeats stilled, in potential unrealized, in empty chairs at dinner tables, in the profound, unending grief of those left behind. Their echo of footsteps fades with time. The silence they left behind resonates through generations. We speak their names aloud where we know them, ensuring they are not forgotten. We tend to the graves, rows upon rows of silent sentinels marking the fields of honor that stretch across the globe. Each stone, each simple marker represents a universe of loss. And for the many, the truly countless many, whose final resting places are unknown, swallowed by the sea, lost in the chaos of battle, or laid to rest in foreign soil, marked only with simple crosses of stars of David. We hold their memory in our collective heart. They are the unnamed heroes whose names live only in the faded service records, the tattered letters and tearful memories of those who loved them. Their sacrifice is no less profound for being anonymous to the wider world. They belong to the silent battalion of the forever young, forever brave. It is in this context of universal sacrifice that my thoughts turn, as they often do on this day, to a single name, Neil Walker, my cousin. Neil, his story, tied to one of the most grueling battles of World War II, brings the abstract concept of fallen heroes into sharp personal relief. We spoke earlier of Monte Cassino, that terrible blood-soaked mountain in Italy, a place of ancient history turned crucible of modern warfare, a place where stone and sky, earth and air became stages for unimaginable human struggle and loss. Neil was an airman flying a B-17 Flying Fortress, a symbol of American power and resolve, high above the chaos unfolding on the ground. His mission, like countless others flown by the brave crews of the 15th Air Force, was vital, dangerous, and essential to breaking the German stranglehold on Italy. He wasn't on the ground, navigating minefields or assaulting bunkers in the ruins of the Abbey. He was in the sky, navigating flak-filled routes, dodging enemy fighters, constant drone of the engines, a counterpoint to the fear that must have been felt, a constant companion on every sortie. If the dangers of the air war over heavily defended territory were just as stark, just as final. On that day, over the brutal terrain near Monte Cassino, fate intervened with cruel swiftness. Shot down, the words are simple, stark, and utterly devastating. Thinking of Neil and Monte Cassino, the immense effort required to take that ground, mile by bloody mile, the equally perilous struggle waged in the air above, deep is my understanding of Memorial Day. It's not just a holiday, it's a connection across time to Neil, to the millions like him in every state, every town, every walk of life, who found themselves in places of unimaginable peril, the Argonne Forest, Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal, Chosin Reservoir, Way City, the deserts of Iraq, the mountains of Afghanistan. Facing down the ultimate test, they went, not because they sought glory, but because the nation called. They faced death, and in too many cases, they met it head on, protecting their comrades, fulfilling their duty, believing in the cause of freedom and justice that our nation represents, however imperfectly. This Memorial Day, let's not just remember the fallen, but truly feel the weight of their absence. Let us look at the flag and see not just a symbol, but the threads woven from the lives of Neil Walker and countless others. Let us listen to the silence and hear the echoes of battles fought and the laughter of lives cut short. Let us walk among the martyrs, the cemeteries, and understand that each name represents a story of bravery, loss, and an enduring legacy. They asked for nothing in return but to be remembered, to know that their sacrifice was not in vain, to know that the nation they died for did not forget them. It is our sacred duty to fulfill that promise, to remember the boy who flew or fell at Monte Cassino, to remember the sailor lost at sea, the soldier in the field, the marine on the ridge, to remember the cost and to be forever grateful. Closing remarks and farewell. As we draw this Memorial Day episode, our musings of a cigarette smoking man to a close, it feels fitting to pause once more, to honor the profound significance today. Today we solemnly remember the men and women who paid the ultimate price in service to our nation, whether on distant battlefields or in the skies of the Monte Cassino. Their sacrifices echo through history and into our present, shaping us the freedoms we all cherish. We have journeyed across decades, from the dusty dirt tracks and beach courses where Nascar was forged, into the crucible of post-war America, to the quiet, demanding work of independent pit crews like the one my father was part of, alongside Buddy Arrington. This exploration wasn't just about racing fast cars, though the roar of V8 engines will forever stir the soul of a fan, but about resilience, dedication, and community. These are the qualities that race teams embodied, the qualities so deeply reflected in the military service of those we honor today. Memorial Day invites us all to reflect on these connections between family legacies, shared histories, and collective memory. It is a day to listen more closely to the stories passed down through generations, to share our own family tales of service and sacrifice, and to keep alive the memories of those who cannot be with us in person, whether spoken aloud or quietly held in the heart. These stories form the living fabric of remembrance. To everyone listening, thank you sincerely for sharing your time with me today. Your willingness to engage in this reflection and remembrance honors those who gave their lives and reaffirms our commitment to making their sacrifice meaningful. As we return to our daily lives, I encourage each of you to take a moment to cherish your loved ones, recall stories of courage and perseverance, and keep the memory of our fallen alive through your own words and actions. Remember, whether you are a longtime NASCAR fan, a member of a military family, or someone simply seeking to understand the profound significance of this day. Your connection to these themes makes you a part of a grateful, thoughtful community. Memorial Day is more than a date on the calendar. It's a sacred opportunity to unite in gratitude, humility, and remembrance. It challenges us not to take peace for granted, nor the passions and pursuits we hold dear, be that the rush for a race or quiet moments spent with family and community. Let us hold in our hearts the names, faces, and stories, those who made the ultimate sacrifice, the soldiers in muddy trenches, pilots like my cousin who flew bravely into danger, the sailors who navigated perilous seas, and all those countless heroes whose lives were cut short in defense of liberty. Their legacy demands respect, their memory requires vigilance, and their sacrifice inspires us to live with purpose. Thank you again for joining me on this heartfelt journey. May your Memorial Day be one of meaningful reflection, a deepened appreciation for history and family, and renewed commitment to the values for which so many have given everything. Take care, be safe, and God bless. I'm a cigarette smoking man. Thanks for being with me tonight. We're going to win.